Hello everybody, welcome back to Planet X News, May 25th, 2020. Well folks, some of you may know and some of you may not know that later on today, towards the end of the day, we'll be faced with a geomagnetic storm. I've had a lot of emails coming in over the last 72 hours. I guess people watching YouTube videos and some of the videos are kind of, upplaying the geomagnetic storm, making it seem, I guess, worse than it will actually be. 99.9% of the folks on this planet won't even know that this is happening because it will be very, very mild. But one thing I do want to point out is going back 5 and 6 days ago, if you watched my last video, we were able to capture this Planet X stellar core passing by and through the sun's corona at approximately the 10 o'clock position. And it was a magnificent piece of video footage. And if you haven't seen those videos, you need to go back and watch them. Just magnificent footage. But there is a sunspot in question, sunspot 2824, and that sunspot was in that 10 o'clock position as the sun was rotating. As that object passed through the sun's corona, you can clearly see that there was a connection between the Planet X stellar core and the opening of that sunspot. Now, right after that passage, that's when we started to see a lot of activity coming from that sunspot. And it kind of broke it open. And for days, we've been seeing this wild activity. A lot of solar flaring, big plasma loops, plasma discharges. None of them were exactly Earth-facing, so they seem to be blowing off in kind of all directions. And what I have up on the screen now is just my SDO Solar Dynamics Observatory dashboard showing you some different angstroms of extreme ultraviolet light. And you guys can all reach these websites right through the planetxnews.org website. There's a link in the menu that gives you access to all of the investigative links that I use, and I'll go over that, in a bit. But I've been watching the sunspot very, very carefully, and as we progress into the solar maximum, we're going to see more and more of these sunspots form. Now, the sunspot can rotate all the way around and past the Earth, and nothing will happen. But what I think is going to happen is, as we move into the solar maximum, I think the interaction between the passing of the Planet X stellar core in its 28-day orbit is going to crack these sunspots open. It's kind of like picking a scab. The sunspot is the scab, and you scratch it, you pull off the scab, and what happens? It bleeds. So I know it's kind of a weird analogy, but that's about as close as I can get to make you understand it. So if the Planet X stellar core passes by and there's no sunspot there, then nothing will happen. But if there is a volatile sunspot there, the magnetic interaction, the interaction between the two occurs, well, we're going to have that sunspot become very volatile, very active, and as it rotates towards the Earth, we're going to have these solar flares, plasma releases, coronal mass ejections. Will they be facing the Earth all of the time? Probably not. But one thing I have noticed over the years, and that's going all the way back to 2015 and 2016, when we were in and basically moving out of the solar maximum, the sun was very, very active. A lot of sunspots, a lot of coronal mass ejections. But what it seemed like as these sunspots and the active regions started facing the Earth, it seemed like they just petered out. And the Earth was not really in the line of fire other than some mild geomagnetic storms. However, as the sunspot continued to rotate and move to the far right, during that time frame, we're looking at approximately 7 days, 8 days, 9 days. But as it moved towards the right side, the Planet X stellar core was now making its way back upward. And I'll just use, we'll go ahead and use the 211 version of the SDO here. So as the object passes downward here, and you can see the active region, and this is the 2824 that we're referring to. Now, 5 days ago, it was way over here. This is where the interaction began. So I just used the terminology, it cracked open this active region, this sunspot region, because before that, it wasn't doing anything. And then all of a sudden, that interaction occurred. The sunspot broke open. You could see the large plasma loops. You could see the firing of the plasma, the solar flares just blasting off of the sun. But as it gets to this middle region, you can start to see it kind of fade out. Now, I pointed this out back in 2016 and 2017 quite frequently. And I guess, I don't know if anybody understood what I was saying or trying to explain. And as the solar minimum, became more progressive, well, the sunspots just disappeared because the sun's output was at a lower rate, at a lower level. But we are out of that zone now. We are now moving into a solar maximum, and the sun's output is going to become more volatile. There's going to be more action on the sun, as we can say. So as there is more action on the sun starts to ramp itself up during this phase. We're going to have more sunspots. The majority of these sunspots are going to be just above the sun's equatorial region, meaning the middle of the sun. We're going to start to see these sunspots forming right around this level here. Later on in the progression of the solar maximum, we're going to start to see these sunspots forming a little bit lower, below the equatorial region. As we progress further and further and further, year after year, into that solar maximum, you're going to see rows of active regions across here, and you're going to see rows of active regions down here. And just some loose terminology, the sun's going to be on fire with activity. So the more activity you have, the more chances that Earth continues to get hit with geomagnetic storms, Earth-facing coronal mass ejections, things of that nature. Now, they will upset satellites. They will disrupt radio communications. increased radiation, things of that nature. Will it destroy the Earth? No, that's not going to happen. However, there's been a lot of talk about micronovas. Some scientists downplay that. Some say micronovas don't exist. But anything is possible when we're dealing with unknowns in space, and science does not know everything. And we have also known science to be completely wrong, especially when they have some other type of agenda. But anyways, don't worry about what's going to happen. It's not going to be that big of a deal. However, it's a good learning process for all of you that want to learn a little bit more about space weather and the terminology. There's good opportunities to start learning how to use these tools for yourself. And again, you can access all of these websites, all of the public access data, straight from the planetxnews.org website. And if you go there daily and you go through the links, and you can check out everything that I am looking at, and it will help you to understand more about our sun. Now, there are some people that are very sensitive to these geomagnetic storms. I personally think that I am definitely sensitive to the geomagnetic conditions. Yesterday, I was going to do this video, and we were already starting to feel the effects of this current geostorm. And when I woke up to start doing my daily work, I had this massive pressure inside of my head, this very mild kind of a migraine on both sides, right above my left ear, right above my right ear. And it lasted all day. I took 3 Tylenol. It did absolutely nothing. There are research papers that have been published that talk about the effects of geomagnetic storms on people with pacemakers, people with heart conditions. It's kind of like, whenever we have a full moon, and they say everybody goes crazy during a full moon, and how the moon and the lunar cycles affect us, human beings, here on Earth. Well, the sun does the same thing, especially when all of those heavily charged particles are spewing directly towards the Earth and passing right through us. Getting back to this supposed micronova situation, or a solar flash, is that possible? Yes, it is possible. Will it destroy the Earth completely? No, it would not destroy the Earth completely. However, whatever side of the Earth is facing the sun during that impact would be severely damaged. How much damage would occur? Nobody can answer that question. No human being has ever been on this planet to experience that and write it down and document it. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. Will it occur? Who knows? It could not in our lifetime. But what I wanted to show you is I made a short video, and I recorded the 2824 sunspot region up close. And we'll go ahead and just exit out of here, and I will pull that up. We'll go ahead and play it. And as this sunspot cruises by, you're going to see these large plasma loops, which are right here. And then you're going to see the firing of the actual sunspot right here. And it is just unleashing flares, one after the other, one after the other. Now remember, this is on a 48-hour loop on the SDO, and we're going to look at the different angstroms of light so you can see things a little more clearly. And what this actually looked like to me was kind of like having a firecracker with a wick on both ends, and you lit both ends, and you literally had the firecracker exploding from both sides. See this little dark region right there where my cursor is? So you have a lot of activity coming out of here and a lot of activity coming out of here. So it's kind of like this middle part right here is the firecracker. You have one wick here, one wick here. Somebody lit both of them, and all you see is massive solar flares erupting out of here and out of here. Very, very interesting. You don't really see that all the time. And that is the connectivity between the positive and negative regions of that sunspot. So I'll let this play, but you pay attention to this middle area, and you will see these flares coming out of here, and you'll see these flares coming out of here. Now this is almost directly Earth facing. But as I just mentioned, during this process, this Planet X stellar core is moving further away. The activity on this sunspot almost comes to a complete end. As it's rotating to the right, we will probably see less and less and less activity as it moves from here all the way across and continues to rotate to the right. Now, over the course of the next 5 to 7 days, as this sunspot quietly moves across over to the right side, the stellar core is going to be looping back upwards. So therefore, probably within the next 7 to 10 days, we will once again see this interaction between that sunspot 2824 and the Planet X stellar core, and we will probably see this sunspot flare back up again and produce some pretty large coronal mass ejections and some solar flares. It will basically reignite. Now it will be out of our view, but we will be able to detect the coronal mass ejections. And I will also predict within that 7 to 10 days as it rotates towards the right, when the coronal mass ejection does occur, we will probably get another good snapshot of this stellar core because it's going to be right there. So I'm going to go ahead and let this continue, but you guys watch very carefully. Now it's passing by, it's almost Earth facing, and then you see it just fades away. Now this is going from the left to the right. You see how much activity right in front of your eyes. Solar flares blasting off, plasma blasting off of the sun. It's crackling, and bingo, here we go. Now this is the 304. I know that's kind of bright on your eyes. This will give you a little bit of a better look at the actual plasma that is ripping off the sun. You'll see it in those dark streaks. Kind of goes fast, but you'll be able to see them. And once again, that middle region right there. And then, as it fades over to the right, the activity goes away. But again, as we progress through the week, 7 to 10 days, maybe a little less, maybe closer to the 7 to 8 days. But as it moves to the right and it comes in contact once again with this stellar core, as it's coming upward through its orbit, it's going to connect with this sunspot again. Now, if this sunspot fades and closes up, there's a possibility that it will reopen and get larger. If it stays the way that it is, you can guarantee that in about 7 days, or more, as it rotates around the right side, we are going to have possibly one or two, maybe even three, pretty significant coronal mass ejections. And again, at that point in time, we should be able to, grab another significant photo capture of this object. I don't know about you folks. I find it very intriguing. Our solar system has changed as early as I detected it back in 2007, and it's progressively gotten worse. So I don't know what the future holds. Nobody really does. But one thing that does irk me is that science won't just come out and say, hey, look what we found. The solar system has some new partners, some new neighbors. It's kind of like the UFO disclosure that's currently on its way to come out. Look how many years have gone by that it's taken them to bring some, small amounts of disclosure. What's the big deal? We are a little tiny solar system in a large galaxy in a universe that nobody knows how big that is. So it's like science just has a small mind. That's the way I would refer to it. But as you can see, close-ups of this sunspot 2824 shows you that activity fading away. Nothing to worry about. Some people may get some, aches and pains in their joints, and they may get the mild headaches. Some people have even described, a ringing in their ears, kind of like a tinnitus effect. I do get that every now and then. But I'll tell you this much. That weird headache I've had, I knew the minute I opened my eyes and I put my feet on the floor and I raised my head, I felt that pressure inside of my head, and I'm like, oh boy, yep, here we go. So I had already been studying this geomagnetic storm setup in this sunspot, and I was just waiting for that headache to come on. I woke up this morning at about 3 a.m. to start my work, and my head felt pretty good. No headache, so I'm not too worried about it. However, we will be in the midst of this geomagnetic storm hitting the Earth late today and through the 26th. Now, besides our bodies, what else is affected? Well, the Earth is affected, and we may possibly see some significant earthquake activity similar to what just happened in China. Okay, that was a massive earthquake. And that is a good thing that that earthquake was way out in the middle of nowhere, because a magnitude 7.3, 7.4 would do some serious damage. We also have this rare volcano eruption in Africa. I mean, that volcano is doing massive amounts of damage. And you guys can, look that up. It is really covering a vast area. And there are a lot of communities that are south of that volcano. So you guys can look that up. There's plenty of videos on that on YouTube and in the news. But I wanted to clarify these things with the sunspots and what the future is going to look like. The future reporting over the next, let's say the next, 5 years, we're going to be looking at very severe increases in solar activity. Most of it is a natural cycle. But once again, this natural cycle now has another factor or another element to think about, and that's the contact with this stellar core as it orbits our sun. So the possibilities of the coronal mass ejections and the solar flaring becoming or increasing to a dangerous rate, well, that's going to be possible. What will it do to us here on Earth? I don't think too much. But for the Earth itself, the coronal mass ejections, the heavily steady flow of these charged particles heating the core of the Earth up, we're going to have more and more substantial earthquakes, and we're going to have more volcanic eruptions. Now, not only is that volcano erupting violently in Africa, but just, I think, 24 hours ago, Mount Etna started to blow its top again. So we have all of these things to look forward to and research and report upon. And I think, from this point on, our space weather is going to be something that we need to keep a close eye on. And again, folks, it's a great learning process. Hell, listen, we pay attention to our local weather, our weatherman. Oh, is it going to rain today? It's going to be, 83 degrees and hot and humid. Well, we also need to pay attention to our space weather. So I'll go ahead and jump out of this video. And there's one thing I wanted to show you guys. I've been getting, I get all kind of crazy emails and all kind of weird threats. You name it. That's been going on for years and years and years now. All kinds of accusations. People call you a liar, you're a fake, you're a cheat, you're this, you're that. Yeah, that's all good. But sometimes I do take it personally, especially when the information's right in front of your eyes as the general public. So what we're looking at right now is we're over on the SEEDS website, where we can look at the different coronagraphs between Lascaux and Soho and the stereo ahead core 2. So after the last video that I showed you guys of this Planet X stellar core drifting through the sun's corona at about the 10 o'clock position, I had this wise ass starting to email me all of these crazy emails, how he's going to expose me as a liar, and how I manipulate the images. And then in the very last email, he said, the only reason why Planet X is there is because you put it there. And I'm like, all right, man, this dude is on crack. Okay, he is on crack. Now, what would be the reason why I would put it there? What, just to fake all of you people out for all of these years? Absolutely not. I have better things to do with my time. There are a few other YouTube channels that, they've doctored photographs, they've doctored video to try to make things look real, utilizing those Alaskan webcams and that all sky telescope thing, and all of that stuff is just pretty much nonsense. But anyways, the last photographs of the coronagraph that were shown were quite amazing, especially the information that I was able to obtain from the SDO. And for years I've had to come onto this YouTube channel and I had to prove over and over and justify every damn thing that I'm showing, because it would get to me. Well, nowadays it doesn't bother me. You want to believe it, you can believe it. If you can't tell that something's fake, then you better do your homework when you're getting into this subject matter. There is one or two YouTube channels out there that try to copy my work. They try to copy my images. Some of the YouTube channels steal my images and claim them as their own. Okay, whatever. There was a YouTube channel a while back. I forget the name of it. But they were literally trying to use, what is that Microsoft program? I think it's called Paint, if I'm not mistaken. Or something like that. Microsoft Paint. And they were literally trying to put circles into the coronagraph images and make it look like a planet. One guy even went as far as to use some cutout art of a planet and put that in a picture and then scramble the picture a little bit to make it look obscure, and then, hey, look what I found, guys. I've located the planet X. I've located Nibiru. But, it was just all fake. Now, I've said this before, I'll say it again. There is nobody else on YouTube or anybody on the face of this earth right now that has access to the server where I am able to upload multiple images or video and render these images or video. I do not access my information directly from the Seeds program that you're looking at right now. Okay, that is nothing more than a JPEG image. There's very little data in what we're looking at right now on the screen. But for once, I'll show you. And this is just from the 22nd of May. Okay? You have the stereo ahead Core 2 coronagraph image in color here. You have the difference image here. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and just start this right here. It's displaying 29 of 29 frames. That's all that they gave you. Okay? 29 JPEG images combined to kind of make a movie, So I want you guys to pay close attention to what you see right here in front of your face. Right there. There's no doctored image. I didn't put that circle there. The only reason why Planet X is there is because you put it there. Oh, come on, man. I'm starting to sound like Joe Biden. Come on, man. Anyways, I'll let this play. We're at I'm going to move it forward right here to the first frame. So you guys will be able to see 29 frames right here at the Seeds website. Go by side-by-side coronagraphs, and I'll explain my point as it plays. So you see this coronal mass ejection. This was right when this object was passing by. A couple days later, and it was still in the frame because the stereo Core 2 spacecraft it's sitting off to the left side of the sun. So we're looking at the side of the sun, and this right here blowing off is kind of towards the Earth. Not exactly bullseye dead on, but it was kind of a brushing glance to the left side of the Earth. So coming straight off of this line, the Earth would be over here. But it's not in this view, okay, because this is a close-up view. So as we look at this information on the coronagraph, yeah, it's going by fast. We can slow it down. Let's slow it down to a speed 2. And right there at the very end, right there at the very end on frame number 29, what do you see? So we'll go frame by frame. Okay, there you go. It's right there. Now, this is an unprocessed image. Now, I did take the data from stereo ahead core 2 in this time frame, and I ran all of the data through the program that I have access to. I was given the login information where I can use this sophisticated software, which, I'll be quite frank, I'm not even supposed to have access to it, but I do. And I've had access to it for several years. And I'm not going to divulge any of that because I'll end up getting someone fired, possibly in trouble. I could possibly get in trouble for accessing it. Who knows? But anyways, I will show you the rendered images that came back from what we're looking at. So you guys can go to the SEEDS website right now. You can click on the little calendar that says 5/22/21. Click on the 22nd and watch the damn coronagraph video. You get to the 29th frame, as you see right here. What do you see? Well, I didn't put that circle in there. You guys just watched me. We're on a public access website. I didn't put it there because it's really there. Now, normally, you get more than 29 frames. Normally, you'll get between 70 to 120 frames is what they'll release. Well, for some reason, on this day, they only released 29 frames. Let me show you something. Okay, we're going to make this go very fast. Now, this would be kind of the normal speed that you would be watching a coronal mass ejection on a coronagraph, unless you wanted to see more detail and you slowed it down yourself. Now, do any of you see that circular body as this frame is being played? These frames are being played? No, you don't see it. Now, again, I do not download my data from this SEEDS website. I go directly to the directory. I found the directory many years ago where I could access all of this information uninterrupted. Now, sometimes there are missing pieces of time. Why that occurred, I don't know. Satellite shut down to protect its electronics, things of that nature. But see, do you see it yourself? No, you don't see it. So let's just pause. We're on frame 12. We'll use the next frame button. And we're going to keep on going. Here's frame 21, 22, 3, 4, 5, 20, 27, 28, 29. Last frame. What do you see? Yeah, that's a hallelujah moment right there. So, I can't help that there are some other YouTube channels out there that try to deceive you guys, that try to legitimately copy the information that I provide. They try to make the images look like the images that I show you. And if you compare the images that I show you to what they're showing you, well, you'll be able to see the difference. But I wouldn't even waste your time. It's just not worth it. It will confuse you even more. The most I could say is just stay tuned to Planet X News for this type of information, this type of viewing, if you're interested in it. If not, what can I say? So, we see this object in the coronagraph on the 22nd of May at 23:53:54. And this is coming from the stereo ahead Core 2 camera on that stereo spacecraft that is off to the left of the sun. So it's a side view. It's not Earth facing. This is a side view of the sun. And bingo, there we go. We see the passage. What occurred 2 days before that, we were able to capture this object on the Solar Dynamics Observatory website, the SDO. Now, that spacecraft is in a geosynchronized orbit with the Earth. So those views are Earth-facing. This view is from the side, the left side of the sun as the Earth is facing it. Okay, so I don't know if that might be a little confusing. So we were able to record the passing on the 20th. On the 22nd, coronal mass ejection, interaction with the sunspot 2824, and bingo, the very last frame on the stereo coronagraph, bingo, we see it. Now, I went ahead and let me go ahead and jump out of here. I went ahead and I downloaded all of the data, and it took about 48 hours almost for it to render this image that you're looking at here on the screen. So let's just jump down here and we'll pull them up. So after the image was rendered, this is what we're looking at. We're looking at a more crisp and clean and clear image. A lot of the static from the coronagraphs, the static interference from all of the heavily charged particles blasting towards the spacecraft and the detectors, you get that weird speckly pattern on the coronagraph that is anchored onto the stereo spacecraft. And remember, these craft have been out there now, what, 16 years, 17 years, I think. So the technology is not the greatest. I mean, they are able to do some uploads as far as updating some of the software, but mechanically, nah, can't do much with them. But I figured out a way with the help of another, and we worked on it for almost 2 years, trying to figure out how we can peel back the layers of these video clips and the actual data, not photographs, the actual data that comes in, that's used to produce the images. So if you did want to hide something, you could do it digitally. And I think that over the years, this is what NASA has done. I mean, I've seen videos that go back 10 years that shows that NASA has doctored coronagraph images and images from the Solar Dynamics Observatory. And there is a stereo B. So there's two spacecraft out there, stereo A and stereo B. Well, stereo B supposedly had a big malfunction years ago, and it's still floating around out there, but they say that we get no data from it. But the best hardcore data showing this stellar core object coming in and looping around the sun was leaked to me by a New York Times investigative reporter. That piece of footage came from the Stereo B spacecraft in 2007, and it clearly, undeniably shows you this object coming in, looping around the sun, and heading back out of the view of the camera on this spacecraft. Soon after that, we no longer have access to stereo B. Why? Because we would have a spacecraft on the left side, stereo A, and a spacecraft on the right side, stereo B, and we would now have almost like a 360-degree view of the sun, and we would be capturing this object almost on a daily basis. Two spacecraft launched at the same time, identical, same programming. One fails, the other doesn't. No other explanation. It went into a calibration roll and never came out of it. And they supposedly lost communication with it, and then, later on, years later, regained communication with the craft. But, they weren't able to get any data from it and blah, 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 blah. Well, I think that's a complete lie, if you ask me. But anyways, let's take a look at the next photo, which is zoomed in. Now, again, pretty clear, pretty crisp. We'll move on to the next photo. We'll get closer. Once again, nice and clear. The interference has been removed from the image. Nothing has changed. No circle has been superimposed or placed into this photograph. First of all, you saw the original on the SEEDS coronagraph. Public access information. You saw it for yourself. After you watch this video, you can pull that up and you can go take a look at it for yourself. You can take a few screenshots. Maybe you can play around with, whatever picture programs that you have. Maybe change the lighting, some different filters, and I don't think we'll be able to clear it up as much as I can. But you'll see for yourself that there's no popping this picture into Microsoft, whatever that's called. What is that? Microsoft. What the hell's the name of that program? Microsoft Paint. Yeah, that looks like a real good Microsoft Paint picture, doesn't it? So let's move into the closest. Now look at that. I mean, folks, come on, man. Come on, man. Let's be realistic. Does that photograph actually look like somebody put a circle into this photograph to make it look like a planet? So, there goes the comment that was emailed to me. This guy obviously has lost his mind. And once again, I'll quote his email. The only reason why Planet X is there is because you put it there. Alrighty then. I wish I had that kind of power. But look at it. Look at it. I mean, if the photograph was faked, and over my research over all of these years, I've looked at tons and tons of fake pictures, doctored photographs, doctored videos. I think I got a pretty good eye for that type of crap. And when I was able to download these images, once again, I have a huge high definition flat screen monitor, and I just sat back in my chair at my desk, and I just stared at this image, just in complete awe. It's not the crispest, cleanest, clearest photograph, but it's definitely not some blurred blob. You can clearly see some definition you can clearly see the spherical, almost three-dimensional object staring at you right in your face. So, as far as me putting Planet X out there, well, that's just not true. It's there. What's it going to do? I don't know. Nobody knows. All of us will probably be, dead and gone. We may never ever really see any type of true disclosure on this subject matter. But then again, we just may. One day NASA may hold a press conference, and I don't think they're ever going to use the terminology Planet X, because that would give me and many others too much damn credibility. I don't know. Maybe they'll name it something. Will they divulge it? I don't know. You never know. One hell of a photograph, though. That's all I got to say. Now, let's jump out of here. And, here's two more photographs from the other day that I wanted to show you guys. This is from the 20th. I showed you guys the video of that object passing through the sun's corona. And I didn't even realize I missed one photograph that came through on the rendering. It just came in like an hour later, and I didn't even realize it. It just took longer. And this was a still photograph, and check that out, man. Check that out. No color changes, no nothing, no putting circles in anything, just no doctoring. I keep it fresh just like it is. I don't put it through no filters or anything of that nature because there's no need to. But bingo, right on the 171 angstrom on the SDO, Solar Dynamics Observatory. And what do we have right there? That is the big sunspot that's been crackling and bursting and popping and that everybody's talking about. That's 2824 right there. Several hours before, that sunspot was way back over here. Probably the closest interaction that it had. And then, 24 hours later, we started seeing all of the active region of this sunspot. And we have been for the last several days. Because like I said, it's kind of like a scab. This stellar core broke it open. It's bleeding. It's bleeding out plasma, solar flares, plasma loops. It's pretty outrageous. That's the best way that I could kind of analogize it for you folks. And one other thing that here's one other photograph. This is also from the 20th as it passes down. Pretty damn cool. Can we zoom in on it? Yeah, we have a little bit of zoom on this. Pretty cool. I think I did show you guys this photo. This is from the composite view on the Solar Dynamics Observatory. Three different angstroms of light layered over and combined to show a little bit more detail. But again, I mean, does that look like somebody just kind of put this photograph in Microsoft Paint and drew a circle in there? I don't think so. Somebody mentioned in a comment to me under the video from the other day if that was my Zippo lighter that you hear me flicking. And yeah, that is. So another question answered. So pretty cool, Pretty clear to me. Crystal clear. I wish we were able to see it like super duper up close. Like one of those Voyager space satellites that they sent out, that gave us all those colored photographs of, of Jupiter and Saturn. Oh, you know what, man? Look, they probably already do have that type of data. Just over the last couple of years, NASA's launched 2 big satellites out towards the sun to orbit the sun and take all kind of diagnostics. And you know damn well they put state-of-the-art coronagraph cameras on those 2 spacecraft, and they probably hold the best photographs of this Planet X stellar core. Because I don't think it's a planet. I think it's a dead star, the core of a star, just like, excuse me, just like Dr. Albers, excuse me, just like Dr. Albers previewed for years in her reports and in her videos. And I don't think it's a brown dwarf. I do think her findings are 100%, because this object is heavy. It's got a large mass, and it's got a super strong magnetic field. All of its characteristics kind of point directly to the aspect of it being the dead core of a star. So stars don't just blow up into little itty-bitty pieces. They collapse upon themselves. They become very dense. Their mass becomes unimaginable. And what do you end up with? You end up with this solid core. If you've ever taken a baseball apart, piece by piece, and unraveled all of the string, what do you see inside? You see the hard core of the baseball. So if you've never done that before, go buy yourself a baseball and get a razor blade, cut the strings open, peel back the leather, and start unraveling all of the string till you get to your core. And then you'll understand. I'm going to show you guys a piece of video footage that I missed, and it was pretty cool. And this was also it's very, very short. This coincides with the still photograph that I showed you guys from the 20th. So there you go once again. Now, the other day I showed you guys the composite view of this, and that still photograph and this short video clip, it did come out, but it came out hours later, and I didn't even know it. I found it. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I missed this. I would have included it, in that video from the 20th. Check that out. I mean, you could see the object clearly moving through the sun's corona. It disturbs the sun's corona. It pulls the sun's corona with it as it's passing by. Pretty damn cool. And once again, we're looking at that sunspot 2824, when it wasn't doing all that much. But as this object passed by, it ripped that scab off. And then as it is faded across here, from this point on, it's been crackling and popping and shooting off solar flares and plasma non-stop. Now, it's all the way over here. And it's kind of petering out. But as it moves across over the next 7 days and it gets right over here, that object is going to be looping back around. And as it starts to come back up, you're going to have that connection again. And mark my words, as this sunspot rolls around, connects again with this object on its orbit upward, we're going to see a pretty large coronal mass ejection, or several, right from this region, right from 2824. You could almost set your clock to it. Now I showed everybody, this same type of situation for years, going back into 2016, 17, 18, 19, because we were kind of in that zone where the sun was pretty active. It shouldn't have been, but it was. So as far as a solar minimum, this has been one of the most active solar minimums on record. I just read a report about that the other day. I was going to do a video on it, but I thought you guys would be bored listening to something like that, and maybe it wouldn't make any sense to you. But yeah, man, pretty incredible. You can see it clear as a bell right there. Pretty awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and jump out of there. We'll get rid of this. So you guys know there's the seeds program. You see the link. You could tell I'm on the internet. And there you go. It was right there in plain sight. We could move back. We could move forward. And one thing that I did notice is that there's a chunk of time missing here. If we move back from the 29th frame, you'll see the time right here. 23, 53, 54. Let's jump back. There's 3 hours missing. So the coronagraph takes photographs. I believe it's every 8, 12, or 16 minutes. Sometimes it varies what they give us. But you could see from 22 to 23, and bingo, it's right there. So 3 hours. And you can see how the photographs are real jerky. So they either remove some frames on purpose, or the satellite shut down for that period of time because it was getting blasted with all of those heavily charged particles, and it goes into a shutdown mode to protect its electronics. So you guys can check that out. That is right on the Seeds website. Look, I'll even go backwards so you guys can see. And you could go right to the 22nd, 23rd. Here's all of the dates. You guys can click on it. You can check out the other Secchi beacons. There's a wealth of information right here. All of these sites are available right on the Planet X News website. The link for the Planet X News website is in the description box under the video. So once you open up the planetxnews.org website, bookmark it. Then that way, all you have to do is click on it, and you could join the Planet X News private network. It's $5 a month. You can connect to the YouTube channels, Facebook. You can check me out on Twitter. You could hit the Planet X News store for t-shirts. You could also access all of the books, all 14 of the books that me and Dr. Albers have put together and published. And then right here is the Planet X research links. So you just go ahead and click on it, and you'll have all of the links that I use on a daily basis, or whenever I want something specific. So you have the Solar Dynamics Observatory right here, earthquake data, earthquake map, stereo core 2, the cactus, which is a computer generated program for detecting the coronal mass ejections. SOHO, LASCO coronagraph, ISWA to check out the magnetosphere, polar drift, solar wind prediction. It's all right here. Everything you need. It keeps on going down. There's so much here, and you guys can click on any of the links and check it out. There's some things for weather also. Let me go ahead and back up. Now, speaking of weather, now remember, folks, the planetxnews.org is in the description box under all my videos. So check it out and bookmark it. So we'll go ahead and get rid of that. Space weather. Spaceweather.com is a pretty good website to go to. You can catch up-to-date space weather information. They don't give you too much, but they do keep you abreast on what is occurring. And there is some information right here about the Geo-Magnetic Storm Watch on May 22nd. It says May 22nd, the sunspot AR 2824 unleashed a sequence of solar flares unlike anything we've seen in years. And that is correct. I mean, that thing was popping. It unleashed a barrage of solar flares and CMEs, and it was pretty neat to watch. You do have some links here that they attach to some of the SDO imagery. You can click over here to see sunspots. You can catch solar wind data over here. There is an article about the noctilucent clouds are back, and they're pretty cool. If you ever get a chance to see these, they're mainly in the North Pole region. They're basically at nighttime they would be like a bluish cloud. But when you see these noctilucent clouds, the reason why they're there is just the amount of electricity that is in the atmosphere and that creates these noctilucent clouds. So there's a whole article here. It will teach you a little bit about what they are, and if you ever have a chance to observe them, if you live in the upper tiers of Canada, sometimes they are seen further down. So right here on the map, you see Greenland and all of Canada and the United States way down here. But you see they detected some of these noctilucent clouds right there, way up in Canada, the North Pole region. Here's the center of the Arctic right there. So a lot of good information that you could pick up on a daily basis from spaceweather.com. The link for spaceweather.com is also on the Planet X News research link page. And again, you guys can bookmark that page, and you have all of those links, and you could start to do your own observations. And that would be, for you, I think that'd be a good thing. Here we're looking at the CME chart. This is the CME tracker. This is showing the latest coronal mass ejection that headed off. And, it's pretty much going nowhere but towards Stereo B, the other spacecraft that I was mentioning that was kind of taken out of commission, or as they say, malfunction, damaged, whatever, and we don't receive any data from it anymore, blah, 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 blah. And you can see the Parker Space Probe, which is signified by the little green square. You have Earth right here in the yellow. And we'll get whipped a little bit from that coronal mass ejection. We'll get whipped a little bit from the coronal mass ejection that was before that. And like I said, it's not going to be any type of event that's going to make the newspapers. However, we may see a significant uptick in earthquakes and volcanoes. No doubt about it. Etna's blowing off, and that large volcano in Africa is just destroying land. It's just eating it up. So here we're at the Space Weather Prediction Center for NOAA, and this is going to show you as these coronal mass ejections popped. There were 3 of them, and you'll be able to see all 3. So I'll go ahead and start this. Right here, the plasma density and the velocity, the speed, you see right there just at the end of the 25th where it's going to spike going into the 26th, and that's going to be where it's impacting the Earth the most. So we'll go ahead and run that, and you'll see right here the coronal mass ejections pop off. There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. So once again, we get hit with just kind of the fringes of this CME, and it should also create some increases in the solar wind. There will definitely be some visible impacts on the magnetosphere models, and there's a couple other YouTube channels that touch base on that, and you've seen all of those before. But I don't think it's going to be some major event. Will be interesting to see. There'll be definitely some shortwave radio disruption. There may be some satellite disruption. I doubt it, but some of you folks that may be sensitive to this type of situation, you may get that long-term ringing in your ears, kind of like tinnitus. You may get some, aches and pains in your joints, mostly headaches. You get that headache, you just kind of wake up with it, and it lingers with you all damn day. Like I had yesterday, just absolutely annoying as hell. Just couldn't get rid of it. So there you go, folks. I hope I answered a lot of questions about, the how I obtain the photographs, the work that I do on the videos, the research. None of it is to fake you out. Why would I waste my time? I mean, I could just leave it to the other bozos on YouTube to show you all of the fake pictures, and I know probably a majority of you guys watch those YouTube channels. But again, to each their own. I try to show you fact and not fiction. Anyways, folks, be safe and continue to pay attention to our geomagnetic storm that's going to be coming in, and watch for those earthquakes. And if you guys monitor the volcano data, check it all out. The Earth is becoming more and more and more active. Take care, folks. Scott from Planet X News. Take care.